Well, as Theo told me when they first came through that time in Seattle, they said, we will be known as THEO. We were 12 archangels. We will not identify singularly because there would be too much attention paid to the speaker and not the message. So they've never identified individually. And then they told me to look up the word THEO in the dictionary, which I did, and it is the beginning or God. But I have to tell you this, for 5 years I kept thinking, when they come in, as you will experience, they always say, this is the beginning, is it not? I kept thinking, why aren't they just saying, hello, this is THEO? 5 years into this deal, I'm realizing that's exactly what they're saying. They're saying, this is the beginning, is it not? And that's the description, the first description in the dictionary for THEO. For it is your desire that this is something that is a reality in this time of fifth dimensionary energy. That is to evolve the consciousness of the human being. And it is important not to be feared, but to be embraced. You were inspired to do so. We would say driven. Your guidance has been moving you forward to bring this forward as the teacher that you are. And there were times you would have stopped, okay? But you moved forward because you know the truth of it. It is important for those who are on this planet, who have incarnated by choice here in their human experience, that they have chosen to do so for this tremendous opportunity of shifting consciousness for all human beings, the human species on this planet. For you one species, and it is not a nationalist thing, it is a globalist thing, that the species comes together to support each other and the planet itself. So it's of import in this time to recognize the fifth dimensionary energy as a time that is a higher vibrational rate for all to recognize their divinity and mastery. And in doing so, there can be created peace on your planet. And for those who are not to be a part of this energy, and you've noticed this as well, are leaving the planet.
Oh,
or not coming at all. Understand this, beings are drawn to the teacher. For whatever reason, they're drawn there for their own experience and awareness. So your observation of that is good, but it is for them to discern, isn't it? What is the truth? The difference of judgment and observation is judgment has emotional attachment. Observation is neutral. You may be an observer of this and say, this is their lesson. But if it is a judgment, it's, I must change it, it's wrong. Do you see? But it is also educational in the sense of the judgment to see what inside of you is judging, or whom inside is judging, what part of self. It's an observation of, isn't that interesting? It's an observation of the human condition, possibly. We find them hilarious at times. understand this. Many speak about young, adolescent, mature, and old souls. Yes? And that is true. But what is spoken about is only the human experience that soul has had. And so there are younger souls and adolescent souls. It doesn't speak to the entirety of the soul, the oversoul or the whole soul, but in the experience of human expression. So there are some who've had many, many lifetimes and have learned from those lifetimes how to interact as a human being in a conscious state, an aware state. And then there are the younger ones that are just trying it out. And the greater lesson in the human experience is the learning of emotions. But many people judge the emotions, are good, bad, and ultimately they are just experiential ways of discernment, isn't it, and protection. And your body is, the emotion is the response of the mind to the feeling. The mind discerns what its reactivity to the visceral feeling of the physical body. It would be anger or fear or joy or happiness or ecstasy or whatever one might speak of it as. It is emotions, but it's also, isn't it exquisite to have a physical structure, your earth suit, to navigate this planet, but it is also to feel those feelings, to touch and be touched. So without the body, you could not have those experiences. To feel the visceral experience of emotion. Yes, and that's our teaching. Now is the time in this fifth dimensionary energy is to recognize that you're more than your physical body. Your soul is much larger than you can possibly imagine, and more powerful. So what we speak of is, this is a time of the recognition of the divine essence that you are, the master being that you are. Not from a sense of controlling others, but in that true sense of attunement and soul connectivity. And so in turn, what happens in their external life, that what is drawn unto them changes as well. The law of attraction is always working. It's always working. It's like electricity everywhere. The reason you know electricity works is you turn on the light. And if it's not on, you know there's an interruption somewhere. But it's been all around you all along. Still is. The law of attraction, the quantum field, the energy of that is permeating everything. And so people think it's not working for them, but what they think most about is what they're getting. And it's working perfectly. Because the quantum field, or the universal energy, or the law of attraction, if you would, is just energy. It all works with what you think most about and what you believe about yourself, because there has to be believability and receptivity for it to work in the way that most people desire it's working. But what do you think most about? And when you think in terms of that, it's usually what you're getting in your life, what you're drawing unto yourself. So to say it's not working is incorrect. To shift beliefs, limiting beliefs, can be difficult. The words are easy. The words we speak are very easy, but action is difficult. Yes, because there's emotion attached to it, the experiences. And some beliefs are very hardwood and ingrained. Yes? Again, it's just energy, isn't it? Energy does not discern whether you're thinking a positive or a negative thought. It just reacts to whatever the thought is. It's an energy alignment. When we say you're seeing through your life through certain lenses, yes. If you shift the lens just a little bit, you'll see life differently. And life will respond differently. You're a multidimensional being. Understand this. Many speak of lifetime, birth to death. What we speak of is birth to birth. The soul births into this physical identity, which you call a body, and it lives a certain number of years encased in this physical structure, navigating the earthly plane. And then when that's complete, the energy of the soul births it again into its multidimensional state. So it doesn't end. It doesn't end. Energy is constant, only form changes. But it can be very subtle and not realized until one moment something happens and you see you're seeing life through different lenses. You're different because you're not reactive, you're responsive. Think in terms of an ocean liner and how long it takes for the ship to turn. Truly, it takes quite a distance before a ship can turn in a different direction. So that could be an analogy you could use. The ship is still turning, isn't it? Because the captain has turned the wheel, but because of the momentum and the strength, it takes a bit of time for the massive movement. It's not an instant right-hand turn, for an example. And that is how you can think in terms of as perceptions shift, you're turning the ship. Because you're not living your life if you're not in the present, are you? If you're too far into the future, you're into the what-ifs and oftentimes fear. And if you're in the past, there are ruminations of what you could have done differently, or maybe there's anger or whatever might be happening. And so if you're in either place, you're not in the present, are you? So you place that intention, and then you pay attention to what is happening now for that energy to evolve to your present state of awareness that it's here. It's true, because if it's not immediate, because instant gratification is something humans like very much, so if it's not immediate, then the mind goes, it's not happening, it's never happening, I can't have it, I'm not worthy of it. Whatever the mind goes to, in a negative sense of belief, rather than allowing the evolution and watching for the signs, because you always have them, that you're on the right direction. If you look at the beliefs that are limiting, we're not going to call them negative or positive, they're limiting. Okay. Yes? If you look at those limiting beliefs and where they've come from, they can be changed. Events will not be changed, that's history. But how you perceive them and how you move forward from it can change. Yes? What changes is your vision of it. And what is the gift, the learning that was obtained from those events? Because no matter what happens, there's always a gift and a blessing. No matter what it is. And that's learning, isn't it? We're teaching about the soul integrational process, the recognition of these fragmented aspects, these places where the light is shining, that we draw forward from those experiences and create a life in the present so we can resolve that and get the fuller understanding of who we are. So what we're teaching is how to shift those limiting beliefs, whether past or in the present. They can be both. But usually a carryover of a belief about self is the thing that is created in the present for that realization to come forth. And then the belief to be changed. The beliefs that are changed are about who you are and your worthiness. And recognizing that you are a divine master being, having a human experience, and you deserve to have the life you wish to live. You know, there are 12 dimensions about the earth. We connect to all 12 of them. You're now in the 5th, which is this awakening time. The 3rd was your physical reality, the 4th is spiritual awakening, now the 5th, the ability to realize mastery. And the 6th will be experienced in physical as well, and that will be full mastery. That's when you have peace on your planet. But the others are experienced in their context of energy, but not physically. So we speak from all those dimensions. Because you have the awareness in the 5th dimension of all possibility. The earth is going to stay the same longer than you'll be alive in this body. However, perception is changing to a broader scope. And that's the new world, if you would. A greater understanding beyond what has been understood before. Interesting concept, isn't it? And it gives the mind the opportunity to consider possibilities that it may not have considered previously. Some will be inspired, some it may trigger them to be reactive, but that's good, isn't it? Because if it is provocative enough, they may open to grow and to ask the questions as you have, to find the answers for themselves. But it also brings one back to the knowing of who they are. And that essence of who they are is that divine being, the master. We wish all will recognize their mastery. For if you could see yourselves as we see you, there would be no discontent, only love. The learning is never only for one, and one is not greater than another.